You're watching Cover to Cover, our guide to the Sikh and Punjabi books that you need to read. This week we're introducing Nanakian Philosophy, Basics for Humanity by Professor Devinder Singh Chahal. This book was published in 2008 and the version that we're looking at here for Cover to Cover is a hardbound edition. As you can see, it's quite thick. This book is chock-a-block full of content. So what's it all about? Let's find out. Nanakian Philosophy is the kind of book that you might see in a bookstore or in someone's bookcase and just pass your eye by because you're not really quite sure what it's all about. And I'm not just talking about the title, but the cover art, the spine. It's not necessarily clear that this is a book about the Sikh way of life. But in fact, this is not only a book about the Sikh way of life, but a book that goes incredibly deep and provides some of the most challenging, thought-provoking ideas on the Sikh way of life than I have read anywhere. Although Professor Chahal's field of study in his career was science, which comes through in his work, for the more than 2 decades that he has now been retired, he has focused his life towards writing through research on the Sikh way of life and trying to tackle the philosophy of Sikhi from an angle that others have perhaps not necessarily considered. This takes shape in many different forms, most notably in his terminology, which you can see from the title itself, Nanakian Philosophy. Nanakian is the word that Professor Chahal uses to talk about anything that comes from the revolution of Guru Nanakian. Now, he is not the first to have coined a term like this. The phrase Nanakian existed prior to his usage of Nanakian. However, in the breadth and sheer volume of work that he has published in that time, utilizing this terminology and looking at Gurbani with his unique, it has to be said, take on things is definitely something you need to expose yourself to. There is an organization of which he is a key member called the Institute of Understanding Sikhism. You can look them up online, Google it, and you'll be able to find many numerous articles authored by Professor Devinder Singh Chahal, as well as many other peers who write in a similar style and from a similar viewpoint that he does. So just what is this thought-provoking, challenging and unique take on presenting Sikhi or researching and studying it that Professor Chahal has taken up, that I keep talking about, that you read about in this book? Well, it's based on the premise that many authors, historians and scholars of Sikhi, particularly throughout the 18th, 19th and 20th century, based their comprehension of the Sikh way of life through Vedantic philosophy. So they were, as he sometimes puts it, they were coloured in their understanding of Sikhi and the way that they presented it in their academic work by what the Vedas and ancient South Asian ideologies said about the world and existence. The book begins with an author's note and some acknowledgements by Professor Devinder Singh Chahal, as well as a foreword by one of, I can assume, his former colleagues, the former head of the Department of Linguistics and Journalism and Culture at Punjab Agricultural University. Following this, we have over 300 pages of the subject matter of Nanakian philosophy. The opening chapters are all about introducing the idea of Guru Nanak, and then we have the bulk of this work, which is all about interpreting Gurbani, which actually makes it a really interesting read because it's somebody's quite unique, sometimes individual take on Gurbani, which is always fascinating. A number of the chapters focus on specific topics which are debated by the laymen and academics alike, including God versus science, which is about the relationship between religion and the studies of science, the Vedas and Yugs, astrology, Hukam, which he terms the laws of nature, and so on and so on. The book ends with a glossary. There is a short piece telling you about the author himself, and then a section talking about the Institute for Understanding Sikhism. There are also, before any of the chapters begin, a number of very bright and vibrant colour photographs and images and sketches that relate to some of the subject matter in the book. There are umpteen footnotes and references throughout the entire book, including, quite usefully, a number of URLs to differing websites and online articles. I did find the glossary with which the book closes quite weak. The lack of an index also makes this quite difficult to just dip into as a book. However, it's understandable why the index isn't there. Each of the chapters cover so much content. It's hard to keep up, actually. It's the kind of book you're going to read at different times of the day and be angered by sometimes fascinated and intrigued by, and at other times it might just bring a smile to your face because it thinks about something in the way that you didn't. As I've already said, I've concluded that this book is definitely a valuable read for anyone interested in the Sikh way of life, purely because it's unlike many other books out there. Not necessarily in a good way or a positive way, depends on which way you as an individual lean in your particular personal journey of understanding Sikhi. However, the fact that he challenges so many of our preconceived notions and perhaps our thought processes on Sikhi is what makes this definitely the kind of read that you want. But we want to know what you think, so please leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think of Nanakian Philosophy by Professor Devinder Singh Chahal. Join us again for another Cover to Cover, our guide to the Sikh and Punjabi books that you need to read.